Diana, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Diana Porras. I'm an instructor in liberal studies, and I'm excited to be here. So I'm happy to be part of this session. And I don't know if Lidiana, you want to take over?
I'll go ahead and go next, and then maybe Molly, you can introduce yourself, and Lisbeth, you can introduce yourself as well. My name is Lidiana Portales Blair, and I am a professor here at Cal State Long Beach. I've been now here for a few years. Many of you are interested in becoming future teachers. So I was a teacher for many years in elementary schools, and I love to now go on and teach the next generation of teachers. I actually am the coordinator of UDCP, which is one of the credential programs here on campus, and I absolutely love it. I encourage you to go to different info sessions to find out which program is right for you. All right, I'll hand it over to Molly.
Hi, my name's Molly. I'm one of the liberal studies peer mentors. I transferred into Cal State Long Beach last fall, so this is my second year, technically my senior year. And I just assist the advisors. So if you have questions about registration or anything, I'm here to answer them.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lisbeth Garcia, and I'm the Department Coordinator for Liberal Studies. So if you guys have any questions, come to me. And if you guys don't know where to go, just come to me and we'll be able to help you. Nice to meet you all. Welcome.
Yes, I think the first thing we want to really emphasize is that everyone at Cal State Long Beach is extremely helpful, very friendly, very approachable. Don't feel like you ever have a question that's a dumb question. Lisbeth, I think I bother you with questions all the time, but you are always there to help me out. So everyone's very friendly here. So our goal today is to share with you some tips and strategies to be successful. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And I'll show you the agenda for today. All right, so a lot of you mentioned that this is your first semester at Cal State Long Beach, so I understand why you would be a little bit nervous. At this point, we've been running online classes for a while. When we all had to transition to online suddenly a year and a half ago, we were all a little bit scared and nervous, but we figured it out, and there's some positives, so we'll talk about those today. All right, so let's go ahead. We're going to talk about Beachboard and Zoom and single sign-on right now. So Deanna, would you like to talk about single sign-on? And let me go ahead and do stop share and make sure that you can also share as well.
Okay, thank you. I guess we'll be doing the introductions of the students in a little bit after the single sign-on?
Yeah, I think we can. Okay. Yeah, we can do that. Maybe after breakout rooms.
Okay, so let me start sharing my screen here. And I don't know how far some of you have gotten into single sign-on or trying the looking at Beachboard or some of these other things, but I want to share with all of you this page here. So the single sign-on, it's an easy website. I'm just gonna show you from my perspective as an instructor, what you see is going to be a little bit different, but Molly, I don't know if you can, share how different it might be from students. So I just go here, and because I have already signed on one time, the prompt that I get is to enter in my password, right? So at this point, you should have already created your password to sign on for the first time. And then, as many of you probably know, we have I forget what it's called. It's like two-step process authentication. So, I have my authenticator connected to my iPhone. So I'm prompted on my iPhone to approve, right? Getting into the single sign-on. So this is kind of the portal that opens up after I sign on to single sign-on. And for me, you'll see a lot of, they're called chiclets. I use 3 primarily. I use this Beachboard one, which you'll become very familiar with if you haven't already looked at that. I use my email all the time, of course. OneDrive, which I'll show you in a minute. And then, of course, there's Zoom, which we're all on right now. And the final one that is going to become very relevant for me and for many of you is this COVID-19 pre-screen, which is something that we're asked to do every day before we get onto campus. But I just want to show you a little bit about how this works. So if I click on Beachboard, what I see are all of the classes that I teach that are on Beachboard, as well as some of the other classes that I've participated in. So as faculty members, we also take classes, and those are also on Beachboard. So I think that's kind of fun. Why this isn't working properly or taking a long time, I'm not quite sure, but hopefully it'll come up. So Beachboard, do I have an alternate that I could share with you if Beachboard doesn't come up? Maybe. Let's put that on the back burner, forgive me, and I will go to Outlook. Maybe some of you are familiar with Microsoft Outlook. It's basically the email provider that we use on campus. So I ask my students, and I don't know about Lidiana, but I ask my students to check their official CSULB.edu email address at least once a day. I send emails, and that's the way that I communicate with students. So you'll see here, I just sent an email out to my students for the LST 100 class. And it's basically, right, what is the Zoom link for our very first meeting? And I also share, like the books that are required. So anyway, this is the Outlook email, and Beachboard did come up. So here is the Beachboard portal. You'll see all of the classes that you're enrolled in on the left-hand side. This is one of the courses that I will be, or that I taught in the spring. I'll just bring it up to kind of provide you a little bit of an orientation or an idea of what this looks like. But I think that we get into it a little bit more in a minute. So the homepage, a little bit about myself, maybe a little video, and then content where you'll find readings and the syllabus. These are all customized by how your professor chooses to set up their Beachboard, so they won't all look the same, but it's basically the primary place that I use and many faculty members use to post all of the readings and materials, and also where you provide your assignments and discussion boards and all of that. So back to the single sign-on. OneDrive is the shared space that we all have. I use OneDrive to post some of the documents that I want students to collaborate with me on. So it's just a shared space where you can post documents and reports and any of these kinds of items. And then the final kind of chiclet or app that I want to share with you is this COVID-19 pre-screen. So this one is something that we're being asked to fill out every day that we go on campus. It's pretty straightforward. Have you experienced any of these symptoms? And if you depending on how you answer, have you come in close contact with anyone? Are you waiting for test results? Is anyone sick at home? and then you say where you'll be going on campus. For me, it would be LA4, which is where I'll be teaching when I start next week. And then a contact information. I'm not sure if students see this part. Molly, do you happen to know if students would see administrative services manager?
I haven't done the screening yet as a student, so I'm not sure.
Okay, okay, well, there's a list of contact people that we're supposed to indicate and a phone number. So I'll just put this here and then submit. And then it gives you the okay to go on campus, and you should receive an email to that CSULB.edu email address that tells you you're good to come on campus. So that very briefly is the single sign-on portal and kind of all of the different apps that you'll find there. So I'll stop sharing. I don't know if anyone has any questions about that, the single sign-on.
So we have to do it before we drive to the campus, right?
That's right. That is the expectation, that you fill out the pre-screen every day before you show up to campus.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Great, thank you so much.
Mhm.
So now I'm going to show you a couple other things that we use a lot here at Cal State Long Beach. I am going to start with, I'm going to actually show one of my beach boards, actually. I love, Deanna, how you set yours up. Actually, I'm going to steal one of your ideas. I like that you did a video to introduce yourself. I love that idea. All right, so I just want to show you that most of your professors will use Beachboard. Now, we'll all set that up a little bit different. Most of the time, we'll have some information here at the front. For example, this class is taught as a hybrid class. And so that means that some of it will be in person, some of it is online. So if you have a hybrid class like that, you will want to check what days are you in person, what days are you online. And I try to be really clear and include all that information. But again, everyone's a little bit different. Every professor is a little bit different. So this is our instructor bio. This is class that is co-taught. So it's actually taught between two different instructors. And this class is our UGCP literacy class. And so you'll find some other things if you go on content, you'll find that most professors will include the syllabus. They will also include maybe some frequently asked questions for the class. And they usually will do a week by week overview. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, none of my professors have this stuff out there yet, don't worry, they're working on it right now. They are going to be getting it out. I'm teaching 3 classes. I've only have one set up and ready. So, that we're working on it right now. Some other things I wanted to show you. There is something here called Dropbox. So a lot of us will use Dropbox when we want you to turn in an assignment. And so you click in here and it shows you how to submit your assignment. Let me see if it will show it up. Yeah, okay, here we go. So it'll say submit assignment. You can add your file, and that is how you will submit your assignments to your professor. There are also, let me show you where grades are. So there's a tab for grades as well. And usually most professors, as they go along, they'll be grading things and you'll see your point total along here. So then you can keep track yourself of how you're doing in the class. And the last thing I'm going to say about being successful in any class, either online or in person, is make sure you read that syllabus, because that syllabus is going to have all the assignments, how many points there were, the policy if you're late or need to be absent, et cetera, et cetera. It's usually all spelled out there. So that's a very good thing to look at and read. All right, so Beachboard. Next thing I'm going to show you is office hours. So professors at Cal State Long Beach are required to hold office hours at least once a week. And the reason for office hours is that we want you to be successful. And if you have questions about the class or questions about the assignment, we want you to have a good place where you can come and ask those questions. So let's see. On this beach board, I have instructions here about office hours. I tell my students, we're just going to do office hours right after class. So I just tell the students, stay after class, and that is when we have office hours. And I also tell students, I'm happy to do office hours by appointment as well. So a lot of times someone will ask for an office hour, we'll find a good time that works for both of us, and then we'll hop on the computer to talk things through. Office hours are great because not only is the chance for you to get questions answered about your assignments, but it's a good way to get to know professors. And maybe you have questions about something that's not related to the class, but maybe it's something else. So, you know, I'm with the UDCP credential program, so I know a lot about credential programs. So when a student has a question about either my credential program or the multiple subjects credential program or the education specialist credential program, I can usually answer those questions as well. So, you know, we're just good resources. We are here because we love to help students. That's what we love to do. So I really encourage you to visit your office hours. And if you are interested in going to a credential program down the line and you're thinking you might want to get a letter of recommendation from one of your professors, that's a good way to make yourself stand out and have your professor remember who you are. All right, so that's office hours. We're going to do breakout groups. So one thing that is used a lot in Zoom are breakout groups. Breakout groups are really nice because it allows you to talk to other students in small groups. So usually in my online classes, I will, lecture for a little bit, and then I will give students a topic or an assignment to do in their breakout groups. I'll send them into their breakout groups and have them work in there. Professors can actually visit your breakout groups and see how you're doing and answer your questions as well. So for today, we're just going to do a fun activity. So I'm going to send you into breakout groups in a moment. When you get into breakout groups, you are going to do round robin. In round robin, you're going to take turns quickly answering the following questions. What is your favorite food? Favorite book or TV show? Favorite thing to do on a Saturday? Favorite person? Don't worry, I'll send this in a message in your breakout group, so you don't have to memorize all of this, but you're just going to quickly answer these. It's just a fun way for you to get to know each other and practice using the breakout groups. All right, so since we don't have too many people, I'm going to put everyone in the same breakout group so you can have the practice of going into that breakout group. So facilitators, you don't have to go into the breakout group. Let's just have the students go into the breakout group. All right, so I'm opening the rooms. You should get a notification on your computer that says, would you like to join this group? Go ahead and click yes.
Did you want me to join it or?
No, Molly, you can hang
Okay.
back.
I got the notification, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I just did one big group for everyone. I'm just going to send them the questions.
Should I pause the recording for now?
I think it's a good idea.
Okay.
Oh, I'm so glad that you were all able to try out the breakout room feature and test it out. All right, so now that you are back, we are going to ask you, the students, to quickly share your name and one of the favorites that you had, whether you want to share your favorite food or TV show or favorite thing to do on a Saturday. Would anyone like to volunteer to go first? There's a student that might like to share their name and one of the things they said in their breakout group. Oh, I saw a hand. Nancy, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Nancy, and my favorite TV show is probably Big Brother.
I also really like reality television. Thanks for sharing, Nancy. Who would like to go next? I see a hand. Oh, Sydney, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Sydney, and then one of my favorite TV shows is Anne with an E.
Thank you for sharing. Thanks. Who would like to go next? Maya, go ahead.
I had to work on weekend, so Saturday is my working day. So I just hope to have a lot of customer coming.
We're busy on Saturdays. Thank you so much for sharing. And I think we have one last person. I can't see your name on the screen. If you're there, can you volunteer?
Hi, my name is Abigail, and I don't have a favorite TV show, but my favorite movie is 5 Feet Apart.
Okay, interesting.
Thank you so much for sharing. All right. Okay, Deanna, I'll stop share in case you want to share anything for the next part.
Yeah, sure. Okay, well, I appreciate everyone sharing. I'll just say really quickly that one of my favorite TV shows at the moment is Making the Cut. So I don't know if any of you love fashion and Tim Gunn and all of that, but yeah, so I like watching that show. So anyway, I wanted to share some Zoom etiquettes and a little bit about how to address your professor. I appreciate that folks use the raised hand. I think that's a great feature. It helps facilitate conversations. And I'm glad that that folks on in this workshop know how to use it. I'm looking at reactions and I'm looking at the different emojis that you can put, that you could use in addition to raise hand. And I think once you're ready to lower your hand, that becomes an option under reactions as well. So, so I'm glad that that button is there for everyone. I don't know if you had another question. No, okay. Yeah, so I'm not sure if I can control the raised hand or not the raised hand, but we'll just, oh, I can. Ooh, okay. So, so I have control that I didn't realize. In terms of Zoom etiquette, I think one of the things as a professor teaching online, one of the things that I appreciate is when folks are, they feel comfortable about having their video on, right? Because I know that for me as a professor, it can feel kind of like I'm there talking to myself if there are no cameras on, but I understand, right? Not everyone feels comfortable having their camera on. So one of the things that that Lidiana and I, we were talking about when we were talking about getting ready for this workshop was about what we do when you know, students don't feel comfortable about having their camera on. So one of the things that I ask students to do is at least have a picture of themselves, right, available. So I'll very quickly share with you the picture that I have, you know, and what I use. So it's not a very formal picture. It's me and my son when he was a little bit younger. You know, he's turning 5 next week. So I think he was about 3 here. But anyway, you'll see that I have my name, my preferred name to use, and then my pronouns, which is something that we ask folks to share at the beginning of our introductions. And pronouns is just a way, I'll speak for myself, in my attempt to be more inclusive, right? And recognize not everyone wants to be called she or he, and it's about being inclusive and respectful of those pronouns and perhaps even indicators or signals of we view ourselves and how we want to be recognized, right? So I don't know, Lidiana, if you want to share your.
Yeah, I'll share mine. So here is my profile picture that I have. And so we thought it'd be fun to kind of share like the two different styles. Like you can definitely have a photo that's a little bit more personal and shows off your kids or your family or whatever's important to you, your dog maybe, or something that, you know, it's a little bit more professional, you know, whatever you want. Of course, we ask you that if you are going to do a photo, make sure that it is appropriate for a school setting. Yeah, but as Deanna was saying, you know, cameras on is really nice. You kind of get to see people and interact a little bit more. I'll tell you a secret. I always have my camera facing a wall behind me because I have two little kids and they'll run in and run out. So it keeps a little bit less distracting. So that's a tip I often give. You're kind of like, don't really want people to see your house. And I understand that. Go ahead and face the wall, gives you a little bit more privacy.
Yeah, but as you can see, Molly has selected to have a background, right? So that, of course, is an option as well. I believe that if you, right now that we're in Zoom, you would be able to set that up for yourself under Zoom. I think it's, shoot, see, I wish I was more, better versed with this. Edit profile picture, perhaps it's that. I don't think so. Oh, see, I appreciate that, Mai. Thank you for sharing that photo with us. So I see it now. So if you go to the bottom menu on your Zoom and you see that stop video, if you click on the little caret next to stop video, you'll see choose virtual background there. And from there, you can choose the backgrounds that are already part of the CSULB, you know, kind of stock photos. But there is an option, at least for me, and I think for everyone else, to upload your own photo if you want. And that way you can make it kind of a custom photo. So I'll share with you this one here. And it's basically a picture that I took at the park, right? So, and then, you know, like there are different options that you have. So if you don't, you know, like you want to have your camera on, but you don't feel comfortable with showing what's behind you, you can always select a virtual background, or you could even blur your background, right? So you don't have to have a stock photo. It could be the space that you're in, but it's just blurred out. So we wanted to share a little bit of that. I appreciate also that folks have their names as part of their like profile or what shows up. I'll let you know that when I have recorded sessions and then I go back to watch them, the actual names of students, like here, like Lisbeth, who's I know not a student, but Lisbeth wouldn't show up. It's just a black box. So there are no like, in terms of privacy and folks knowing your first and last name or whatever you choose to have as your profile won't show up in a recording that's made of a Zoom meeting, at least from what I have seen on my side as a professor who records the sessions. Are there any questions about that in terms of, you know, the background, having your video on, putting your name on Zoom? Okay, so of course, using the reactions, using that raised hand when a professor asks for participants to, you know, participate in a conversation, you know about chat and how that can be used to have a conversation. If you're not comfortable with speaking openly, I always encourage students to submit their comments on chat as well. And I try to be the person who monitors the chat as well as the verbal conversation. So that's something too. Let's say that you don't feel comfortable with answering a question out loud, but you want to share your ideas, right? So I encourage you, if your professor does as well, to use the chat as that space. And, you know, spelling or whatever, if you're not, you know, totally sure how to spell something, I would just go for it. And, you know, because to me, it's more about the content and the ideas rather than, oh, is that word spelled correctly or whatever it is, whatever it is, right? So those are kind of some of the tips that I have for Zoom etiquette. Oh, one last thing that I will mention is about noise, right? So always being aware of the noise background in the space that you select to participate in the work, you know, in your class. Sometimes that noise can be distracting or disruptive. So one of the things that I ask folks to do is to have themselves on mute, right? If they're not actually engaging in a conversation at that particular moment. So those are kind of the tips that I wanted to share with folks about Zoom. I don't know, Lidiana, if there was something else that you wanted to add in terms of that aspect.
No, I think you did a fantastic job covering it all.
Okay, great. And so just to talk very briefly about addressing a professor, you know, I know that especially for some freshmen coming into the university setting, the college setting for the first time, there's a whole new language and vocabulary that we're adopting, right, as college students. So, you know, like rarely do you hear folks say about homework. More it becomes about assignments, right? Like, oh, now we have assignments. And the same goes with your professors or your instructors, right? You transition away from, let's say, Miss Porras, right? Which would be me if I was a teacher in the classroom, to Professor Porras or Instructor Porras, or maybe even Doctor. One of the things that I've learned along the way is unless a professor or whoever invites you to name them or refer to them by their first name, then you probably want to go with professor and their last name, right? So unless someone were to say something like, please call me Diana, then I wouldn't really go with, oh, hi, Diana, you know. And I mean, there's just like some, I don't know, some ways that some instructors choose to prefer to be referred to in the classroom. So wanting to call your instructor Professor so-and-so or Dr. so-and-so versus like Miss or Mr. or, you know, like what we're used to in the K-12 system. Are there any kind of questions or comments anyone would like to share in regards to that? Oh, yes, go ahead, Nancy.
I just have a question regarding our name.
Yes.
Do our professors, are they okay with just our first name or last name, or do they also would prefer like our email or as our name, or would they want like our ID number with our name? How would that
You mean
be?
when you're on Zoom, you mean?
Yes.
I would stick with first name, maybe first name and last name. If like in one of my classes, I was looking at my roster, there are 3 Melissas in my class. But yeah, like I would not share my student ID number on the Zoom. Maybe your email address, I've seen that before, but I don't know, Lidiana, what your take is, but I mean, I'm fine with first name and last name.
Yeah, I prefer first name and last name. Kind of makes it nice and easy. The one thing I'll say is make sure that you're using like your name that you have registered in the class with. That's just because I always have a waiting room in my classes online. That's in case we did have a Zoom bomber that's not supposed to be in there. I can look at that list and be like, oh no, you do not belong here, and not let them in. So it's always helpful when a student has their name and I'm like, oh yeah, You're supposed to be here. Absolutely. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and talk about some campus resources we have available. And I see we have one new student. Thank you so much for joining us right now, Jeremy. All right, so I am going to share that handout we've been looking at. I also put that handout in the chat. So this is a handout that is on OneDrive. As Deanna was mentioning, we use OneDrive a lot. So you should be able to click on that link in the chat and you'll see the same handout I'm looking at. I say should because you do have to be signed on through single sign-on at Cal State Long Beach to be able to see those documents, but hopefully it will work for you. All right, so a couple of things. All right, so resources. So we also want to be a resource for you as well. So if you find that you're in a class this semester and you do not understand what the professor is talking about or what they're referencing, or feel free to email one of us, and we are also happy to help you out or help you find the right person to talk to. You are never alone at Cal State Long Beach. There are so many people here to help you along your journey. I also wanted to share that we have a university website for all things COVID. So if you go to this website, it will give you a ton of information about different things you might want to know about. As we mentioned before, if you are going to come on campus, there is a special pre-screening you have to do. If you do have in-person classes, oops, I'll have to go back and fix that link. If you do have in-person classes, you will have to upload your vaccine card to show that you are fully vaccinated before coming on campus. And not all that information should have gone out in your email. So make sure you are checking your Cal State Long Beach email for all those important updates and notifications that are so important to know about. The next resource I want to talk about is the BMAC Center, Bob Murphy Access Center, BMAC. So this is the center for students who have special requirements, special needs, or disabilities. This is the center that will help you make sure that you can access the services and accommodations you will need for your classes. They are responsible for talking to your professors and making sure that you have all the requirements you need. I also want to share our counseling and psychological services, CAPS. This is a wonderful center full of people who are ready to help. So any stressors you are dealing with in your life, any anxieties or big issues, big changes you're dealing with, and you want to seek out some more help, these are the people who are there and ready to help you. We also have 2 videos here that we don't have enough time right now, but I'm going to go ahead and share these out. So the first video has general tips for how to start your semester off right. And the second video has tips on time management. Of course, when you are in college, time management is very important because most of the assignments and most of the readings are on you. And so your professors are here to facilitate your learning, but we're not holding your hand anymore. So some really good videos for you to look at. All right, and so right now we're gonna do the questions, but I also wanted to stop. Molly, I actually wondered if you wouldn't mind giving a little bit of advice. What would you say would be your advice for being successful in online environments?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm taking all online courses this coming fall semester too. And at first it was really hard to do online classes, but I feel like I've kind of gotten the hang of it. I would say the number one thing is just making sure that you're checking your emails, because I mean, you get emails left and right from everywhere. And so, I mean, your professors will email you, but also like different programs and athletics, and you'll just get emails. And so make sure that you stay on top of that. And I don't know, I think for like Zoom etiquette, like just making sure you're showing up for class and you're prepared. I think I've had a couple different like types of professors. And one of my favorites was like last semester, one of my professors would open the Zoom. He would open it 30 minutes before class. And it was technically office hours, but it was kind of just like, oh, if you want to hang out or chat about literally anything. And so I would go, and we became pretty great friends and just chatted before class. And so that was super fun. And so if your professor does open up anything like that, I would encourage you guys to go and like, I don't know, just take advantage of that, because eventually you'll get to a point where you will need a letter of recommendation. And so whether that's like applying for a credential program or like scholarships, some of those need letters of rec. And it's really nice when you have a relationship with professors. And so it's hard online, but it's definitely possible. And so, yeah, I think my biggest thing is just making sure like you show up and you're ready. And I mean, it's class, so you got to be ready to learn. So yeah, I think that's my advice. Also, don't be afraid to ask questions. Yeah.
Thank you. That's fantastic advice. Thanks so much. All right, so we're going to open it up to questions now. We have some questions that were submitted in advance of today, but if any of you have other questions, we are happy to answer them. Why don't you go ahead and add the questions into the chat? We'll go over the questions that were submitted in advance first, and then we'll go over to the questions that are in the chat. So go ahead and type in your questions. Deanna, do you want to take the first question?
Sure. Will there be books to purchase, and how will I get my books for classes, right? And you'll see here that the bookstore is open with limited hours. I believe that you can go on the bookstore website, look up your class to find out which classes have been required for your individual classes. Right at the bookstore, of course, you can also buy supplies, beach gear, and other things, but definitely in terms of books. And then a tip that I always give my own students, especially if it's like an older edition of a book, or the book was published maybe 5 years ago or more, I would always check the public library or the university library for copies of books, particularly if you're on a tight budget. I know books can be expensive, so that might be an option once you know what book is required for each of your courses. I see that Mai has a question. It says, how can I see the link of the recording section of the meeting on Tuesday that I missed? I think that might be a question for Lisbeth. I'm not sure.
Yes, we'll be sending the recording links to everyone after probably early next week, depending how, since the classes start next week. So, but you guys will be reserving, getting the links or the videos to watch those.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, I'll take the next question. What should I expect from a hybrid class? So every hybrid class is going to be structured a little bit different. For example, my hybrid classes, I did the in-person meetings mostly at the beginning of the semester, and then we're moving virtual. Now check your syllabus or your class schedule so that you know when your in-person classes are going to be. So it may be that you only meet a couple times at the beginning of the semester. It may be that you're meeting, in person and online throughout the semester. So just go ahead and check that. So, but for the most part, a hybrid class means that you are meeting sometimes in person and sometimes online, like we're doing now. And there's a difference between synchronous online and asynchronous online. That just means synchronous is what we're doing right now, where we're all together at the same time in real life. Asynchronous means that maybe the professor records a video first and then you watch it and you do some online assignments. So you'll want to read the syllabus to get information, and of course always go to your first class meeting, because that is where all that good stuff gets explained. All right, do you want to take the next question?
Sure. It says, with COVID updates and current events, are in-person or hybrid classes potentially going to change to online format? And I think the best place to go to keep up to date with what's happening in terms of potential changes is that website that I put in the chat earlier. And it's the one that we were trying to get to beforehand when we were looking at our agenda. As far as I know, the plan is to continue to have in-person and online or hybrid classes, or all online. All in person, if that's the class that you've signed up for. But as I said, the most important thing is to read your emails, stay in touch with this website of repopulating the university, and listen carefully to any announcements that professors or advisors may be communicating to you about that. But as far as I know, we're going to be moving forward with this plan. And yeah, I think we know what we have to do in terms of being vaccinated if you can, wearing our masks, social distancing if that's required in a particular space that you're in, washing your hands. Do I need to really say all of this all over again? Right, I think we know. And then of course, doing that pre-screen before you come to campus. And if you feel at all that you've been exposed, contacting your physician, perhaps even the health center that's on campus. So hopefully that answers that question. Do you want to take the next question?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and take the next question. So the last question is, will classes continue to be online or largely in person for spring 2022? And the answer is that none of us know yet. I'm sure that is something will get announced at some point in the fall semester. Until then, without a crystal ball, we can't really know. So continue to check your email, make sure you're keeping up to date with campus announcements. But either way, we're going to keep moving forward. We'll have a great fall semester and we'll have a great spring semester as well. All right, so I'm checking the chat. I don't see any other questions. All right, fantastic. So I'll stay back for a little bit in case anyone does have one-on-one questions, but otherwise, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you so much for being here. And we're so excited that you are starting at Cal State Long Beach this semester.
Yay!
Go Beach!
Thank you.